Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Cecilia, and on behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you've joined us for our next live presentation from Outcrop Silver. Please note you can submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Ian Harris, President and CEO of Outcrop Silver, which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol OCGSF and on the TSXV under the symbol OCG. Welcome, Ian.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to present today, and I hope I can get quickly through the presentation and look forward to all the questions that may come up. So for those who are not familiar with Outcrop Silver, it is one of the world's richest, and it's a primary silver deposits in the world in Colombia's traditional mining region. Obviously, lots of forward-looking statements and encourage everyone to do their own due diligence. And with the hope of not overdoing this, but obviously right now, and I hope one of the reasons you're listening today is there's a lot of excitement building around silver right now. Not just because gold price has run and normally silver has a tendency afterwards, but to date, silver is highly undervalued compared to historical. But as a mining engineer, I do have 25 years working in the industry, the majority living and working in South America. But I love things when they're tied less to emotional reasons, but to an underlying compelling reason of why there's so much excitement around silver. And the truth is to put it into perspective, the entire demand for silver last year was about 1.2 billion ounces, but total supply was only a little over 1 billion ounces. So that's a significant deficit, which accumulated over 2020 to 2023. It's accumulated to almost over 800 million ounces. So when you hear numbers like 800 million ounces, what does it mean? Well, that's 80% of supply. And the forecast deficit for 2024, according to the World Silver Survey and the Silver Institute, is an over 265 million ounces. Now, in perspective, the total world production of all mines today is about 800 million ounces. So these are not small deficits. These are dramatic deficits. And it's really the big shift in silver is that it truly has converted to be an industrial metal. Right, over the last few years, it's gone from 40 to 50 to 60% of the total use of silver is for industrial. And the big, massive driver is solar. Last year, almost 200 million ounces were used in solar panels, and the demand of silver for solar panels increased 64%. So the growth in solar is geometric. There's lots of reasons for it. I don't want to waste too much time on this presentation, but the big one is it doesn't take a lot of time to permit a solar project. And so a lot of this new generation is coming for solar, and that's a big part of the solar demand associated with work centers, data centers, and the new requirements for AI. So solar demand is surging. And it's getting to the point where 64% increase now is 20% of the demand for silver. So these dramatic increases in silver demand are really putting an extreme amount of pressure, and it doesn't seem like this will slow down in anytime soon. So what's being set up is I put a poise for a re-rating. I tell a lot of people, that I don't know when the wheels will fall off, but the wheels are going to fall off. And so, really, I think any significant catalyst in terms of sentiment, it could be physical supply, the inability to deliver on physical supply, or other reasons, new investment, etc. But really, it's kind of inevitable, in my opinion, that silver will go through a significant re-rate. And then if we look about, okay, what happens then? I'm not selling silver. I am a silver explorer. What does that mean down then? What does that mean to an investor? Why invest in a silver explorer if you also believe in silver? And the big part is, um, to start off with, primary silver projects are actually very rare. Of the total mine production of about over 800 million ounces, 230 million ounces are for primary silver production, and that's really concentrated in three regions. Well, not the primary, but overall silver production comes from Mexico, Peru, and China. And the majority of the primary silver production is actually from Mexico, which puts a lot of individual risk on country, which is nice to be in a very new district in Colombia. But it also says that the additional 70+% of production is actually price inelastic. Surprisingly, is the amount that actually comes from copper mines. And I can tell you, as a mining engineer, silver could go to $1,000 an ounce, and it will not change a decision making on whether or not to construct a new copper mine. So really, there's an inability to provide quick supply because there's so few primary silver production. And from primary silver mines alone, it's pretty close to what the current demand is for solar panels. And just kind of puts it into perspective, at least in the medium and long term, what is the opportunity in silver. But what does that mean, and how do we bring that, and how does that relate to Outcrop Silver? So I'm going to start with our Santa Ana project is our primary project. It's where we spend 99% of our time. It's located in the historical mining district of Colombia. Right now I live in Medellin, Colombia. I'm fluent in Spanish. I like being very close to the projects I'm very involved in, but I am a mining engineer. And as a mining engineer, I like to be involved in projects and have a history of being a part of startups and some of the first large scale projects within the region. But I like being involved in projects that have the potential to become future mines. And that is really what was the attraction to Outcrop and the Santa Ana project. So as a basis, last year, we put out an initial resource estimate of about 37 million ounces of silver, and it's one of the highest grade deposits in the world, but it was only based on 7 of 22 total drill ready veins, and I'll take a deeper dive into that. And then April of this year, we really went big on our upcoming drill program and started drilling in April. In June, we put in some additional metallurgical test work out. I'll take a dive into that. But also recently, in June of this year too, we put out our first initial drill results on a brand new untested area, showing a discovery on the Aguilar vein. And then in July, just last week, an updated drilling results, including 6 meters, over 6 meters at 828 grams per ton of silver equivalent. And just keep in mind how excited we are about that news, because that is a higher grade than our existing resource estimate and a very wide intercept. So something we're very excited about the potential there. Okay. So then the next is when we talk about the rarity of primary silver projects, right? This is a list, and it's a very short list, right, of companies that have development projects, projects that are resources in the ground that have indicated resources and the overall grade. So first of all, Outcrop is definitely one of the highest grade projects in the world, and even on a silver only basis is also extremely high. So it's 446 silver grams per ton, pure silver, which is about 73% of the value, including gold. It's 614 grams per ton. And that's important because when you mine, right, it costs you a certain amount of dollars to get something out of the ground, and then how much value is it worth out of the ground? And so that really bodes well for the potential of a project economically. The second part of it is the high percentage of overall silver, right? Because obviously, if we believe that silver price will go up, is how leveraged the project is overall to silver price. And at 73%, we are a true primary silver project and extremely highly leveraged overall to silver price. The next is indicated grade has been important. Between an inferred indicated is a higher level of confidence with much tighter drill spacing. And that was very important when you have such high grades and put out such high numbers, right? That it's extremely important to be able to demonstrate that it's not a nugget effect, that it holds and hangs together. And so therefore we've done a lot of work, and such a high percentage of our drilling is in the indicated category in order to demonstrate how it hangs together along strike and at depth. We don't continue to drill to the center of the earth because it's cost prohibitive, but it is important to show and demonstrate the overall trend of the and geostatistics of the overall vein. So the next thing is that resource estimate, that 37 million ounces, was based only really on 6 veins, so 7 in total, but really primarily 6 different veins. And the big takeaway for me is that means every additional vein that we are adding in our discovery will add significant resources. It's not like all of it came from just one. Every time that we pull in a discovery, we're adding significant amount of ounces to the project. So when we look at 2024 and what we started with our drilling in April, put out the initial discovery result in June, and then updated results now in July, if you look over at this map and you see up the right-hand corner, the red little squiggly lines represents the veins that are in the resource estimate of the Santa Ana project. And you can see they're all very highly clustered up in this northeast category. The orange are what we call our drill-ready targets. They're targets that have been generated, that we've done the work on the ground, that we're excited about drilling, and they have the potential to become future resources. There's a higher concentration in the northeast because that's where the majority of the work has been done. But you can see it's overall an over 15-kilometer trend line. But all of the resources up in the northeast. So this year we said what we want to demonstrate is, and one of the confusing things is when you put out initial resources, many people think, that's it, it's done. It might grow a little bit, but really that's the project done. But obviously this project has significant area to expand. The blue area is our areas that we have mining titles. Green are where we have applications, so we have that land locked up, but hoping to be able to convert them into titles so as we go through the administrative process. But even within the blue boxes, we have about 15 kilometers of trend. And what we went out this year and we said we want to be able to demonstrate how this resource can increase dramatically. And the drilling we started with was halfway down that trend line, and you can see this area that's called Aguilar. Why Aguilar? Is first, it's never been drill tested. It's halfway down the trend line, but it also has a very long 1.8 kilometer overall trend. It's about 5 kilometers away from the existing resource area. So that's why we were so excited first in June to have a hit, and then following up with additional drilling in July, demonstrating a very high grade at over 800 grams per ton. And over 6 meters in thickness, a nice thick interval that we found and hunted down one of the significant ore shoots within Aguilar. By the end of the year, so this year, we're really focusing on testing additional targets. We've got an inventory of targets and we're going to be generating more targets, but we also want to get all the way down here to the bottom southern section and also test Los Mangos before the end of the year, because we want to be able to demonstrate that we continue to see high grade silver, primary silver, and to be able to demonstrate we've got hits here, we've got hits down here, but overall you can see how this resource could go up by 2 or 3 times. And that's the number one strategy of the project. And we believe even if silver stays flat, even if equity markets stay flat, we know that we can deliver significant value to our shareholders at the end of the drill bit. Today, we have 2 drills running, and they are continuously running, and they will be continuously running, so it's not like a drill season. Our goal is to continuously keep those drills running, to be able to generate that pathway to a significant resource estimate with 2025 focused on converting those new discoveries into additional resources. But right now, it's about demonstrating that overall pathway, how this project can grow dramatically. But it's not just the high-grade silver, et cetera, that makes this project so exciting for me. It's really the mineralogy is very unique. First, it is truly primary silver, but our silver is actually a silver sulfide. About 88% of the contained silver in the deposit is a sulfide. And that most people ask, well, who cares? But the reason is, as a silver sulfide, that material will float. So I don't want to take too much time here, but I'll take a slight dive here. Why is that important? That means first, we can recover the majority of the silver from flotation, right? So we're seeing when we combine gravimetric and flotation methods, we're getting 88%, almost 89% of the recovery from a rougher concentrate, which just means a first run flotation. We're getting 89% of the silver, and we're capturing an additional almost 8% of that silver through gravity. That's nice because you're seeing a 96% recovery based on gravimetric and flotation only. No cyanide, no additional, so it's extremely environmentally friendly methods. But the second big part is if you look overall at these grades, these are extremely high grade concentrates. That means that the silver that is contained in here as a minimum will sell as a precious metal concentrate. Because many times silver isn't recovered as a precious metal. It's recovered because it combines with zinc or lead or even potentially copper, where it's contained within a sulfide concentrate. And so therefore it goes to a copper smelter or it goes to a zinc smelter, and they don't pay you for all the silver that you have in that material. Sometimes it's only 75% is actually paid. But as a precious metal concentrate, we know that we can get 95% payables because of the high grade and that it's a true precious metal concentrate. But it is also high grade enough that we could direct smelt this material. We've actually done it with some of the metallurgical test work on a laboratory scale. But we have the potential even to create potentially doré at the project. And that's very exciting because in doré, you're going to get paid 98 to 99%. So that's really exciting because you start with a very high grade, which that value is underground. You pull it out of underground, and then how do you keep it? First, you've got to recover it. So it's got the recovery. We have excellent recoveries at 96%. And then the last item that many people don't talk about is the payable. How much do you actually get paid? And so we have the potential, I call it a trifecta, to have high grade, high recoveries, and a potentially a very high payable on our material, and all with very environmentally friendly recovery methods. Okay. The next is where we are. We are in one of the traditional historical mining districts of Colombia. Some of the biggest mines in the country are right around us. It's been the Santa Ana area was actually the freest mine since colonial days in Spain, was actual mine. And I think it was about third largest producer of silver for the Spanish Empire during those times. But more important to me, it's all these significant mines, the biggest gold mines, both Segovia and Buritica, and Marmato, which is going to be pushing up to over 100,000 ounces this year. It's some of the biggest mines in the country. Directly south of us is an operating mine, El Gran Porvenir. So it's an area that's accustomed and used to. It's got a traditional mining history. What's also very interesting, and if you look at Buritica, Segovia, and Marmato, all of those projects are also high-grade narrow veins. In their case, it's gold. But today they are big projects producing over 200,000 ounces. And what they all started on a smaller scale and added more and more and more and more faces. This type of mining method is known in Colombia. The people know how to do it. It's normal, and it is not a limiter to the overall production and scale of a project. The other part and the other reason that I love joining the project is being involved in multiple startup construction and mine builds is that the truest, most important factor is relationships on the ground, right? Normally, everything else is there's the root cause was there wasn't a strong relationship locally, and just doing pretty photo op type social opportunities is not the way to go. It has to be ingrained into the DNA of a company that developing and creating relationships on the ground is critical and involving with the local community. We love also the governor and the mayor of overall of Tolima and of Holland, very much in line, see the future, seeing taking the strong, rich mining history that Tolima has and seeing the future and the opportunities, especially with the energy transition of being a leader in that area. But we very much work on maximizing not just the amount of local jobs, but the local contractors that we are using and building capacity along the way to get there. Next is obviously the team. Myself, my background, I am a mining engineer, 25 years, and 15 of those are living in South America. I'm fluent in Spanish and currently live in Colombia. Kathy Lee from Silvercorp is, my right hand, and enjoy having her with me, and she's on our call today. Guillermo is our vice president from Mexico and very much knowledgeable, working with some of the bigger companies in the world. But very much knowledgeable in these overall high-grade silver trends. On our board, Joe, who is actually the original CEO of Outcrop, an extraordinary exploration geologist, and continues on the board. He is the guy who brought Santa Ana to where it is today in that initial resource, and now obviously my focus more on continuing expansion and resource development, but also project development. And then Ana Malena, who was the ex-senior vice president of Collective Mining and is also the president of Women in Mining in Colombia. She brings a huge amount of local content and understanding of how things work in Colombia. So an extremely strong team to be able to drive this project forward. Overall, we have 280 million shares out, a few warrants, but they're actually coming into the money. So right now we actually see a lot of our current financing is brought in. Our cornerstone investor is Eric Sprott, who continues to have 11% of the project. Today we have about $3 million, a little less than $3 million in the bank, which carries us for a long period of time. So currently we have been able to finance quite a bit through the exercise of warrants, which is very, very exciting. And it allows us some flexibility in our timing on future private placements or other opportunities, and be able to hopefully time that with an improvement overall in the equities market and also overall silver price. So I'd like to think that we have an extremely solid foundation. We have an amazing project, one of the highest grade projects in the world, a true primary silver, excellent recoveries, excellent potential payable. We're executing on the ground. We're now into a solid news flow where we continue to put out drilling results, et cetera, et cetera. And we are probably one of the most leveraged projects to overall silver price. We see a significant beta when silver starts going, and we have developed a very strong pathway to not only expand this, but also develop the overall project. I'm going to try and do the questions now. But if you have any questions or anything is left out, Kathy Lee is by far the best person to get a hold of. She is the one who can track me down if there's any additional questions, and she's wonderful at that. But okay, so how much overall capital do you need to finalize the exploration phase? Okay, that is not a simple question, but I would like to put a parentheses around that. I'd like to be able to get over that 100 million ounce mark. Our goal is, I think we have a pathway to get over 100 million ounces, but we need to be able to drill out over 100 million ounces. I think that's a critical emotional milestone for a silver company, and there's very few people in that club today, actually. So that is critical. So I'm just putting a ballpark number that's about 80,000 additional meters. And currently with 2 drills, we're doing almost 2,000 meters a day. So I don't think we'll be able to get there by the end of next year, but we will be able to take a big chunk. My goal is to put out an additional resource update next year. Could be late, or starting that would be out in the beginning of 2025 to be able to get towards that. But we're probably a year or two along that path. But we also have the ability to accelerate. So if we see silver prices improving, we can bring more drills to the table to be able to accelerate that pathway. So I guess that's a similar question. Okay, what are you looking for in terms of equity financing royalty? So I don't see, because it's a primary silver project, I don't really see the need for adding a royalty or adding a stream. At this stage, that would probably be later stage when we're more in a project development, getting at least into a feasibility study or getting it towards project construction. And because I think the equity markets are improving, I don't think it's really necessary at this stage. So into the medium and long term, it will be being very smart on using a equity finances way, and it's very nice actually getting offers today of bought deals, not just best efforts type private placements, is the way that we're going to be financing over the next in the near term. Right now, we don't have any plans to come out with a new private placement because we see the execution of warrants, but obviously sometime into the future it will become a necessity. But I'd like to be able to do that under better equity market conditions and better silver pricing, which I think that we're on the cusp of. So very excited of the ability to throttle our needs and also the ability to time our future placements to be as non-dilutive as possible. And I think that is it, but it also almost out of time. So I appreciate it. But if there's any additional questions, Kathy's email is listed there. She is the best way to get those answers. She always knows